Good morning, good afternoon, good day, and good evening. Now, I don't know what time of day it is for you, but for me, it's a good time of day. We are back at it again. Once again, we are here today going over the topic of talking about the case for Black women, right, in our community. And you'll forgive me right now. I guess I'm a little high strung. My migraines have been acting up, and when I come on these days when I haven't had a migraine, my head's good and everything else is fine. And or it might be that I gassed myself up today with a bunch of caffeine. I got that drug caffeine in my system today as well, so that might be why I'm a little amped up all as I going all the way up. But I want to just, I guess, jump right into it. Let's talk about it. Let's get right into this, and let's bring on Westradamus. How we feeling today, Westradamus?
Man, at work, man, trying to pay some bills.
I hear you. I hear you. I say, is it a good time up there? Bad time? How's everything going up there with you?
Oh man, it's another day in paradise, right? That's all that you can say. Another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise. I'm high strung. I think I got a little too much caffeine, and my migraines haven't been bad at all today. Actually,
Oh, that's
today,
good.
yesterday. So for the past couple of days, I say I've been good, and I don't know. Whenever I have these bad flare ups like I've had over the past few weeks, I get in this little lull where it's like, and then they don't. I'm like, oh, thank God, I haven't had one a day. So that's kind of where I'm at today with it. And I guess
Yeah,
we're
about to say, how you doing? Like on the migraines, man? You doing better?
Oh, most definitely doing better today. And it looks like we got 7 Mile Awesome Dre. He's here with us today as well. How you feeling today, brother?
Peace, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be back with you, brothers. For
Oh
sure.
yes,
Most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say so.
honor.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I say I'm with you, brothers, on that. So hopefully, I say, you know what? Let me just do it this way because I was gonna start off with something, but let me yield the floor right now. I'm gonna let you start off. This was actually a topic that you suggested for us here, Westradamus, about the case for the Black woman, and I say dealing with our sisters, and why it is that we didn't need to deal with our sisters. But I'll let you start it off for us today.
Um, my whole premise is this: we all say like the black woman. Well, there are some tropes talking about the black woman as God. There's a lot of tropes and things like that. That's circling our community, and which I believe is detrimental to our community and old information that needs to be updated.
Mhm.
And a lot of us men and women, we're still operating off of old information. And it's time for us to update it until 2020. All right. And now with this current culture, now we have people are online and all they're doing is just sitting on the sideline just complaining about women instead of getting in the game and actually start competing competing for yourself, so therefore you can be the most marketable person possible. And simply there is for us to get better. And what we do, what some people I've seen do, like in the red pill community, what they're doing, they're just narrowing in on one segment of women instead of, hey, won't we look at the whole picture instead of one segment? Of course, because if you look at one segment of black men, you're like, oh my goodness, they're a bunch of thugs, whatever, but then again, if you look at the other percentage, which is the mass, you'll say, oh wow, there are a lot of great black men out there that's really doing the thing, but the only thing that really gets really televised is always the degenerates, and things like that. And what we need to do is to heal our community, because that's all we have is each other, in essence, and we just need to just come together and have an honest conversation. One stat that nobody really talks about is who is the second largest group of millionaires in the United States. It's black people, and nobody wants to talk about that. And people want to talk about, hey, black women don't want to build. But when we look at all the different types of women here here in the United States, Black women are the highest in the workforce. The highest. Okay, so clearly, um, if we're going to talk about degenerates, all around, okay, let's segment those to that one conversation, but let's not apply that to the all, because most of us are actually very good, productive members of society, and when all we do is talk about women online, every your whole channel is just talking about women, how's that productive? Hey, I understand that we can critique, we can actually critique each other, which is, I think, that's very productive. But if that's all what we're doing, all right, what actions are we actually doing? And to the gentleman, I'm talking to myself in this argument as well, or this assertion as well, is when we tell people don't get married, don't do this, don't do that, we normally fear what we don't understand. And what I found out, when now I'm on this side, I got my law degree, I'm on this side of the education, is a lot of people don't even understand marriage, legal marriage. They don't. And what men need to do is we have to say, hey, if you want marriage, okay, you have to sign a contract, a prenuptial agreement that says this, and this, and this. Okay. Hey, if you don't want to sign this agreement, all right, sorry, we can't get married because you want me to sign an agreement.
Mm-hmm.
A legal agreement. So you have to counteract with that and actually explain things. And I was guilty. I was in there. I was like, hey man, don't get married. Don't do this. But you have to understand, you only fear what you don't understand. And then when we start understanding what the issues are, then we can start moving forward. Because at the end of the day, we won't be able to move forward separately. We have to be together and we have to get married, because in my opinion, these single parent homes and things like that, it just doesn't give, it is proven that it does not give the child the best opportunity to succeed, statistically speaking. I yield the floor.
No, not at all. It doesn't. Well, I'm gonna pass it over to Dre. I say, because you said you have a lot to speak on this subject as well. So I want to start. I say, let you gentlemen start off, and I'll try and bring up the rear. Hopefully, I can match that energy that you guys have for me today.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Wonderful. Always a pleasure to be here with Black men. Always. First of all, SB, you was my guy. That picture you put up of me was terrible. That was a
I know, man. Yeah, let me get you down.
I am so sorry, bro. I was looking for
ever. I had a business meeting. I didn't have no money. I bought the biggest, ugliest shirt you could find. You know what I'm saying? It was a terrible. Please don't.
I will not put that one back up. Give me.
My God. I can't afford the custom made stuff just yet again.
Well, brother, I listened to that video that you did where I pulled it from, and you expressed how you you still had the tie. The tie was still on point. You said the shirt, obviously, and you said that you had a situation where you were going into for a business meeting dealing with an app at the time. And I like, okay, so this brother, I say, so I was looking for one because I didn't want to. I was gonna do one with you in a shirt and with t-shirt with the hat backwards. I'm like, I was like, I'm gonna put that up there, and the brother gonna be like, why you do that to me? Everybody else, you got it. And now you want to make me look like, oh, I'm the odd man out. I was like, nah, let me see. I said, let me see if I can work this as best I can. And now I feel bad. Send me either I'm gonna next time I'll put one with the t-shirt and hat, or you can send me one and I will.
My God, it's a pleasure, man. Yeah, I just had to see. I said, what does SB do? But shout out to you, brothers. I took the liberty of doing a little research, in preparation for this, for our conversation. And I looked up the 50 most powerful women in this country, and Black women. And they were all heads of various companies and so forth. They always found themselves in a similar role. Two similar roles, CIO and unmarried. This was unanimous, almost Westradamus, Savior Black across the board. And what I remember as I sit here and I wondered about this, and I thought about, the opportunity that our community has in order to be able to build women like this who have achieved so much. As we all know, their sexual marketplace value is so low because they do so well financially, and they have, what some people would consider too high of standards. And so a lot of brothers have decided, you know what, I would rather not deal with the woman with this masculine energy, because when you tend to provide and when you tend to do so much for yourself, you tend to think you don't need anyone. However, blessed are the sisters who recognize that they do need a man and you do want to be married. And so I'll just begin with that, you know what I'm saying, and just kind of ease on into this thing.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna add my little 2 cents in here. For me, it's about managing expectations, right? And I guess in most of the things that we do, did I leave up something I should not? Okay, no.
Oh, no, that's me. I'm at work. I just got one of those emails,
All right, but yeah, I say so. It's about managing expectations. So, what are you expecting? We talk about marriage. We talk about the Black woman, and I think I'm in agreement with both you brothers and many of the points that you made, specifically in regards to the fact that the community does not succeed. We need Black women in order for the Black family to be strong, for the Black community to be strong. We need to have our sisters on board as well. So the case for the Black woman in my head is that obviously there's a need for the Black woman in order to maintain that Black family, Black community. So what it has in my head is, what are we expecting? And like one of the things that you mentioned, Wester Damas, is I don't want to just get in here and we just dog walk women all the time. That's not productive in my head. I think it's important to start the conversation. Like what you talking about, there's several content creators, and I'm not gonna mention them by name right now, but there's several of them who've made a living off of dog walking Black women. And it's not even the fact that they do it they start off by dog walking Black men, and they'll point out the fact that they had 3 years of dog walking Black men and pointing out all the various issues that we have and things that we need to do in order to work on those things, in order to make ourselves better, in order to be better, more productive, and to get a more cohesive family together. And now they've done 3 years of the same with Black women, but they continue to do it because it's lucrative. It's more lucrative to dog walk our sisters because the sisters tune in. People, they get that anger bug, that fear bug, and they want to sit there, and it goes viral, and they want to continue talking about it. And I'm okay if we continue talking about it if we're actually adding something new to the discourse, adding something new to to that process of getting us better, so that we can start to see some improvements within the community. But just dog walking them all the time, I say that I have an issue with it. The same way that you would say I have 3 years of content of me dog walking Black men, you can go back and look at it. It's not my fault. I feel at this point we've identified that there's an issue within the community with our sisters, and that just same way we did it with us, there's an issue with our sisters, and that there is a very vocal component of our sisters that do this, where they has like you said, the masculine energy downtrodden on Black men, and the expectations there, and the issue that we just recently had that we talked about on the last live with Will and Jada. And I see a lot of people specifically sisters, going, protect Black women, protect our sisters. And in my head, when I look at that, I'm in managing expectations. I think that is a bad expectation, or a bad thing to put in the minds of these young women coming up, sisters, because let's say that Chris Rock did decide he wanted to press charges. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy is what this ends up turning out for him in my head. Chris Rock decides to press charges. He presses charges, and then he does what Jim Carrey said. He's suing Will Smith for $200 million, and it's all on TV. And let's say that he has, like what happened with the two sisters, Cardi B and Tasha K, where he actually wins, and a few years down the line, he actually wins. And in the meantime, like Will Smith, he's getting blackballed in Hollywood. Nobody's making his films. Netflix has dropped him from several of these, so he doesn't have any money coming out, and now he's hemorrhaging money out as well. And let's say that he doesn't have enough money in order to survive, because it's $200 million. That's the lawsuit. And let's say by whatever miracle he actually wins that $200 million lawsuit, which is more than Will can pay. Is Jada going to stay around now that Will is broke, not able to get any work or employment, or is she going to say, all the good Black men, I tried being here with him, and he ruined our lives, right? So a lot of times they'll say that there's no good eligible black men. All of us are either in jail, or all of us are married or taken, or all of us. They go through these various tropes, and they don't manage your expectations. Say some of the things that we're expecting out of black men that defend black women, and that was a good move to make, actually contributes to, if we put that expectation on them, on us as brothers, and they carry that out, it contributes to not being able to get a job or being incarcerated. Because let's say if he did press charges and Will's incarcerated, now you complaining that the brother's incarcerated, but it was a behavior that you encouraged in our brothers. And I think that managing expectations, it goes both ways. But since we're focused on our sisters today, I'm not going to come back to us as men just yet. Like I said, we can probably have another one where we talk about us as men. But if we're focusing on that aspect of it, it's managing those expectations. What is it? I say you can't say that you don't want black men in jail, or the brothers don't have enough money, and then you're encouraging behavior that puts them behind the 8 ball that way, or puts us behind the 8 ball. I shouldn't say them, but puts us behind that 8 ball in that regard. And then going back towards what you talked about, Dre, I love the fact that we're looking at that for our sisters. They figure that they have to achieve and excel and do all these things. That's great, fine, get it, love it, whatever. But are you still able to come back within the family arrangement and be a wife? Right? You've achieved all this stuff. What is your idea of a wife? And if it's not congruent with what the brothers are looking for, maybe that achievement that you achieved is not what you needed to be looking for as far as what you were achieving, especially if you're going to try and be selfish with it and say, I'm not, as a, this is my stuff. And I guess let me say I'm broken, because I had this actually happen to me, where it's like you provide all this time. It's like, oh, well, this is all my stuff, and you do for all of us, but what I have, that's for me. So I guess that's what I'm adding to it at this point, is that I don't want to just dog walk our sisters, point out what the expectations are and how that could contribute to where we're at right now, and trying to see if we can get to a point where we look at it and we say, okay, well, you guys are now, like I said, the most educated, the most this, the most that, and you're CIOs and unmarried. If you want to get married to a brother, these are some of the things that you might want to look for. So, and I'm gonna yield the floor back to whichever one of you guys wanted right now.
Yeah, Western Diamond, do you mind?
You can go ahead. Well, number one, I just want to say this is like, awesome, Dre. How are you doing today, man?
I'm well, black man. I'm with my brothers, man. And you know what I'm saying? I don't do no complaining. How about yourself?
Oh, man. I just want to say, hey, I apologize. I didn't ask how you're doing before I made my assertions, and because I already greeted SB over there, so I didn't have opportunity just to greet you. So I just want to make sure you're doing well, and everybody in your family's doing well.
Thank you, black man. Like I said, I don't have much family, but I'm always appreciative. And I'll get into it. I decided, brothers, when I started this journey, that I was going to tell it all. I wasn't just going to pick and choose the parts that were comfortable. If I was going to use my life as a teachable moment for black men in order for the upliftment of our community as a whole, then I decided I would tell it all. So I'm going to get into a lot of this this evening, as XB will allow.
Yeah. Okay. We have a discussion today. I say, go hop onto it, brother. You said you want to jump on it. Hop onto it, brother.
Yes. So many of the things that we actually speak about, I've experienced personally. As I told you, brothers, before, I grew up in a 2-parent household, but what I didn't tell y'all was that my father initially had a daughter. Well, excuse me, she wasn't here. She came from my mother, and I had 4 brothers. So it was the girl first, and then it was me, and I was the firstborn boy. And I saw how my father became a stepfather to her, and he treated her like his own for years. And she actually played a role in his and my mother's death. But allow me to qualify. While I was in prison,
please.
Yes, while I was in prison, my mother and my father were going through some tough times, and money and finances were hard and things of that nature. I still hadn't figured it out, but I knew that it was time for me to become the man that I was supposed to be. Yet I just hadn't made it out to the world in order to take the burden away from my father and my parents, like that was the plan. And my mother she had taken on some modern tendencies, at least the way it comes to me. She had began dancing in clubs and, you know what I'm saying, and doing karaoke. My father had loved this woman ever since she was 12 and he was 15. And they got together when he got out the army. She actually came and walked, if the story goes, she walked over to my grandmother's house and with my, sister, and told like, hey, I love you. You know what I mean? They end up marrying at 79. And my sister actually played a role in creating the problems that existed between my parents. And then my father subsequently couldn't take it anymore. And I was away at this time, as I mentioned, brothers, but the way it came to me was that my sister, my father wanted to kill her too, but he ended up killing my mother and himself. He turned the gun on himself. He just couldn't take the fact that he was losing his woman and the stress in this world, and it inevitably crumbled him. And so this is one of the reasons why I would never be a stepfather to a child. As lions, brothers, when they want their woman, when they want to procreate, what do? They kill off the cubs.
Yeah.
And that's not. But
That's
this is what
facts.
mammals. Very few mammals are willing to sire another man's or be able to take care of someone's offspring. And so, brothers, as I sit back and I observe so many things, and I observe what was the lesson that I could learn from this, and I learned that also baked into this, my sister made claims against my father that he had molested her all her life. Well, it wasn't until his deathbed that she actually said that it was all a lie. And so these things crushed my father, who was a good man. But what I've learned is good doesn't get us anywhere in this country. And so what I had to learn is to start thinking like a wolf. I had to start taking the same laws as me and SB talked about and understanding the things that and the plights that were against us and start to use these things to my benefit. So I began to read. I began to study his thinking. I began to study, when I say him, I usually call them white devils. That's generally what I call them. But I call them those, for those, I don't mean all white people specifically. I mean people who are part of the system that chooses to oppress my people. And anytime we're in a situation that keeps you subservient, keeps us subservient to you, that's not a relationship I want to be in. And a lot of black people, we get that mixed up. We don't understand that, it's important for us to be at the bottom socioeconomic wise, and that allows them to rise. And as long as we can lift them up, then we're fine. But as soon as we tend to rock that boat, then all of a sudden you see, I say, you always know whether a white guy is really friends with you or not. Will he put you on his level? Will he give you an opportunity to be a partner? Will he give you an opportunity to be above him? Then you have an idea of who you're dealing with. Until then, it's all talk. I yield.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's the story about your dad. I've heard that before. I've experienced it personally. Very similar, but almost exactly to what your dad experienced. So that's interesting. I've experienced it in my mediations, and now listening to you talk about it, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I'll probably share that story, my personal story about that, as a later time. But I'll yield it over to you, Westradamus.
Number one, awesome, Dre, man. My condolences to you and your family. That is a hard burden to just overcome. Very difficult, even just thinking about it, wrapping your mind around it, and then now you actually see it it's like a movie type thing going on. And man, my condolences to your family, and you as well, SB. My condolences as well. You said you went through something similar here, things similar.
Very similar. I'll share it. I don't know if I want to share it right now, but off camera, during law school, you was telling me some things and all that good stuff. So like, man, I just want to just, that's just the trauma. Trauma begets trauma, in our community, and that's the reason why we need to call for healing. Mm-hmm.
One point that was made earlier about the women, the high earning women. Um, I just want to say this. I'm not just trying to say this in their defense or anything like that. It's they have a great understanding of the family law structure, and they know that the how the structure works is all about the traditions you create in your marriage. So if you as a woman, just in nature, you're nesters, they're nesters by nature. They're not meant to be providers by nature, and they make so much money. They're going to want somebody that's going to be on their level, or a little bit higher, or a little bit lower. Because if they get somebody, hey, they're making $1 million a year or $500,000 a year, being a CIO or CEO, they're not going to get somebody that's going to make $40,000, because they have just created a tradition of where they are the provider. So whenever a divorce does come, all right, depend on what state you are, they're going to have to end up paying alimony. All right. Then on top of that, since she's the main provider, who's going to be taking care of the kids? Probably the man, right? So therefore, the kids is probably going to go with the man, because of the courts want to keep status quo.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the kids, what also comes with it? The house. So she doesn't want to be paying out all this money, and that's the reason why she normally stays alone.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for a woman, from my research, from my anecdotal experiences, and from what I've seen, it's very hard for a woman to build up a man and then submit to him. It's very hard from what I've seen. They kind of want you to kind of already have your own, and then nest up under you. If y'all have I can keep on. I'm about to go to my next point, but y'all want to say anything about that? Any rebuttal?
No, it's not really even a rebuttal. Let me read Sunday. She said, she put in there, and I'm going to assume this is to you, Dre. She says, may they rest peacefully. Sorry to hear that. Sending peace, strength, and continued courage. That came from this sister here, Sunday. That's what she put out there for you. And I guess like you, which not really even a rebuttal, because I agree that most of the times, most of the women that enter into the family law system, and they go through that process, the moment they start talking to their friends or people who've already gone through it before, they have a very good understanding. And not only do they have an understanding, once they talk to an attorney, and this is one of the things I talked about with TLA today on his show, but once they get through and they talk to an attorney, they have a really good idea of what they need to say, what they need to allege, what they need to accuse.
Oh, yes.
In order to get what we call here in Texas a disproportionate share of the marital estate, right? They understand what it is that they need to do in order to make sure that you're out the house by alleging some kind of domestic violence. So once you're out, they get to stay in the house. Now they are also the primary caregiver for the children, and you've monetized the children, right? So the kids are there's a worth or a value to the kids and having them, because you're going to get the child support. We've seen this with Black China, even though she doesn't have custody most of the time for her kids with two famous people. And we're going through this whole process. The primary issue for me, and instead of just dog walking our sisters, talking about all the things that I identify within the system, is to understand that if we're talking about having kids, having a family, being there together, and doing these things together, then the idea, the thought process of divorce, and some of it, I say, so there's two parts. One is what our sisters can do, and then the other part of this is with the system as they trying to make changes in the system. Because if it wasn't for the fact that we've monetized it and we made people adversarial, if it was just you get 50% of whatever it is that whatever it is you guys had together in that situation, that's what you walk away with. That's 50% of the community property. So and I say that like, so if you had property beforehand and all that stuff beforehand, then it really doesn't matter. That doesn't come into play. But 50% of whatever was earned together. That's one thing. The other aspect of it, at least for me, when looking at it with our sisters, and like I said, that's changing the dynamic in the court. But with our sisters, recognizing that not all the brothers, because like you said, we've had these continued traditions that we've done, and a lot of it are things that we now can recognize these things are wrong that we did. We might have got it, like you talked about. Did we get it from our elders? Did we listen to our elders? And maybe we did not get this information, but now recognizing that where we're at and what we're doing is wrong. So if you've already had a relationship or whatever, recognizing some of these things that we're doing is wrong, and putting that expectation of like holding out somebody like with Will Smith with Jada the other day, and saying that that's the example we need to hold out. That's what we need to do in the community. We're saying that that's something that we should discourage and be like, no, that's not the right way to go about it. We want to have strong families. Like one of the things you mentioned, and it's hard for, I acknowledge that this is what it is. It's just hard for me to get my mind wrapped around because I deal with broken relationships all the time. And I'm a product of a broken, or not a product. I had my own broken relationship. My parents are still married, so I can't say a product of. But in dealing with that, it's how do we get our sisters to, if we're making a case for our sisters and saying that we need to have Black sisters, we need to have our women together with us. How do we get them to help us in this process of making the change to say, okay, well, I might have this, be making more money, but what's important to me is the Black family. And I don't, I don't know what that answer is. And I guess I'm going to put it out to you guys. I'm going to read this one quick comment. It's from Sunday again. It says, sending prayers to both of you. This is a very interesting convo. Just listening in. Okay. So that was what Sunday had to say there. But do you guys have any kind of recommendations on some things that we can talk about with our sisters, or some action to take with our sisters in order to change the trajectory that we're going in?
I guess I'll take this one, Awesome. You don't mind?
Please.
Yeah. All right. One thing is real simple is men, we actually control marriage. Mm-hmm. All right. And we act like we don't. So the first thing, what we need to do is we have to up our game. All right. At the end of the day, we have to up our game. Up our game and then actually control marriage. That's the first thing. All right. Control marriage as in, hey, you have to sign a prenup. Hey, if you want to get married, okay, this is 2022. We all been through it. Hey, I've been through it myself with women and being married and being divorced. All right. Most of us, it's like, hey, trust this woman, whatever. We actually mean in our vows and things like that. And what happens is it blows up on us. Okay. Like, hey, she sells out. It's like, hey, I'm getting bored, or whatever her reason is. Okay. She leaves with half. And after that, the lawyers get a portion of your third. Okay. Then after that, you're only left like with 25% of what you originally had. Mm-hmm. And the bad thing about it is it's our time, because we can't get that time back. So we might be 30, 40, 50 when we get divorced. Okay. And that's what, 20 years worth of work, half that's already gone, or just like you said, that cup of coffee, $1 cup of coffee. Really, now that cup of coffee that was $1, now it's only 25 cents, but the value was $1, so it's that time that gets taken away from us. And so therefore we have to protect ourselves. So, hey, if you want to move somebody in, make sure she signed a contract. No, say, hey, if she really wants to move in, because at the end of the day, that's what our life is. It's nothing but contracts. So if you're with somebody who's not willing to sign a contract, of course you have to be on a certain level for it to fly. I'll say, hey, you can't be making, $15 an hour. It's like, hey, I need you to sign this contract, to move in with me. It's probably not going to fly, but hey, if you're making like 40, 50, $100 an hour, up at least $60,000 a year and on up, make sure she signs a contract before you move on with anything. Because of that's what our life is. It's a series of contracts. What is marriage? A contract. Mm-hmm. What about your employment? It's a contract. Hey, you start a business. Okay, it's a contract with the government. So at the end of the day, it's a contract. So therefore, hey, if we rationalize everything down to a contract, we can actually protect ourselves. All right. The second thing, with the ladies, ladies, this is just a critique. They have a broken sisterhood system, and I don't know what happened to our community, because they were our community. And I remember, growing up, when we didn't have sugar, we can go next door. Hey, why don't you go ask the Millers for some sugar? West Radamas, go next door to the Millers, ask if they have some sugar. And and I'll go get the sugar from the millers and bring it on back. So the question becomes, what happened to that sisterhood? And why are sisters afraid, being so afraid to critique each other or correct each other without reproach? Because at the end of the day, is we're passing. Our whole issue is bad information and outdated information, and we're getting past, and we're passing on bad information, and it keeps on, and then that's how the cycle starts. Is we keep on passing off bad information. So, hey, you see one generation, they have a teen pregnancy, then the next generation has a teen pregnancy, is because we're not passing on good information down. So therefore, the cycle always continues. It's going to keep on continuing until, and just like, hey, you see a family full of lawyers, okay, because good information was passed off. So, hey, this is what you do. Da, 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 da. All right. So at the end of the day, it all boils down to what type of information is actually being passed. So if we're all, and then the results will show for itself. And I'm not saying that we have something that will measure what is actually successful or not successful, but in the system, what we can see is what is prosperous and what is not prosperous in this system. And I know Awesome Dre says A is devilish, but because it does oppress people. And don't get me wrong, that was true for a time, but it's time to get rid. No offense, but I think it's time to get rid of that victimhood mentality. And hey, let's really start using the system, against itself. And hey, let's start learning the system. Let's try to use the system against itself. For our families too, because put like this, we know, like in housing, right? With people of color, the man has to be out the house. But with other people, with other groups of people, that's not necessarily the case. So what are we doing, not just to equal that out? That's just one thing. Just, hey, let's try to equal that out, because that's actually real change that we can actually do. And then number two, and that goes through voting and things like that, because of you can actually be our elected official, Awesome Dre. You can be our elected official, SB. And after that, we have to take a active approach in it. Remember, we don't have any more leaders. Like, that era of us is over. So it takes an individual effort for us to take care of ourselves. And then my last assertion will be the Protect Black Women movement. I believe in relationships, and I believe in protecting yourself at all times and protecting your family at all times. And if this person is not of a familiar relationship, you can't assume that somebody's going to help you out just because you share a similar skin or some type of familiarity. Because you have to understand, everybody's out here for themselves. So if you want to make a big assumption that, even though my car broke down, I see a black man pass me by, okay, a black man needs to protect me or fix on my car for free. Okay, how does he know that you even need help? How do you know that you haven't called AAA? How does he know that if I start helping you, and let's say somebody else come up, a problem might happen? How do you know that this is not a setup? This is 2022, and anything can be anything. So to protect all black women, that's just not a smart move. You're just going to have to keep to your familiar relationships, protect your daughters, protect your sons, protect your children, protect your wife, protect your nuclear family. And whatever that is, your nuclear family, just protect that. And then in essence, you're going to be protecting your whole community, because if that person's a part of their nuclear family, that means they should have some form of protection from their nuclear family. After that, hey, I yield the floor.
All right. Well, I'll pass it back over here to Dre. Did you have anything you want to say on that?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, Western Diamonds, I'm sure you probably didn't mean it like that, but the last thing I could ever be is a victim. I'm definitely a warrior, and I've been through the
Oh
bottoms of
yeah.
hell, Satan in the
I
face.
apologize. I
So
apologize, my brother.
yes, no,
No,
I didn't think
no
you meant it that
disrespect.
way. I just meant you. I just think you meant it in. I believe I understand the terms that you meant it in. What I will say is these issues are complex, but yet they're not. And when I say they're not, I just believe I learned a long time ago, gentlemen, that you always have to go back to the origin of a thing.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
And
Bingo.
and when we talking about when we dealing with our women, okay, when was the breaking point? When did black women no longer seem to be aligned with black men? It goes right back up to Title IX and the civil rights.
I would say 1950s, 1960s is when that actually when they
Actually, from my is actually Reconstruction, but
Reconstruct.
okay.
I would disagree with both. Go ahead, SB,
No, I
please.
was going to ask, I say, because you said for yours as Reconstruction, I'm going to ask if you have that data. I would like to see it. I was like, because I haven't seen that data yet, so I don't want to sit there and disparage it or anything
yeah,
like that.
And that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So
I would probably say, gentlemen, respectfully, I would say about 1971 when opportunities started to arise and they just decided that they didn't need black men. And so now what we're seeing is that bill has come due and nobody wants to pay that bill. And when I say nobody, the sisters don't want to recognize that they took the opportunities that were there and they decided they didn't need black men in the homes. They didn't need black men around. We were treated as if we didn't matter. I remember growing up, brothers, that even though I was born in wedlock, I didn't get my father's last name until I was like 16 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how long it took for me to get my father's last name, and they were married. These were the games that black people had to play in order to keep families together. And obviously my situation was not perfect. It was not ideal, but I was born and I love my parents and I'm appreciative of everything that they did for me because I've learned so much. And more than anything, it made me unbreakable. And it made me, and so Western Dominus, I will push back slightly when you say we don't need more leaders, because I tell you, brother, I come to lead, I come to teach my people. And if there's other black men who see this thing in terms of who are putting in the work, like I vaguely talked about this with SB. I'm the lawsuit king in terms of filing pro se lawsuits. I was just working on something right before I got online with you brothers. It's important. It's so important for me to push this information out here to my people so they can understand that you can use, and you being a lawyer at Western Diamonds, you can understand that you
oh
can
yes,
appreciate, yes, that the law is our saving grace in terms of when you can push the system to say, hey, this is what this says, so this is what you owe me. Then I believe that we can get some traction. But as far as with our women who have decided that they don't need us, who have decided that they're making more money, brothers, I'll be honest with you. I spoke briefly about this, but you never know how these things will. You never know how these things will shape up. So I don't want to toot my own horn. But while I was in prison, I thought about uh the disparagement in black and white drivers in terms of things. You know what I mean? In terms of the way black and drivers, the way people are of minorities are treated, which causes us to be stuck in a vortex of poverty. You know what I'm saying? Just from a minor ticket. You got to go to court. You need a lawyer. You got to get your car out. Now you can't get back and forth to work. Now you find yourself in trouble. Now you got to go to child support. And so I'm in the process of, let me not be extra. I'm in the process of developing an app which tracks police stops. Now, I don't know what this thing will do. Who knows? It may make $0. It may make me 45 million. But the bottom line is, no, I don't see a black woman that's coming to me and say, hey, I see he's got potential. He's a good man. He's strong. He's been through a lot, but I can build. No. They sit back and wait. And then when when brothers were like, well, dang, where were you at then? Then now all of a sudden therein lies the problem. You want us to bring our wealth and our resources back to the community, but yet you didn't have nothing for me a year before. And so that's important that our sisters start to recognize our black women are the only race of women who do not identify, vet, and secure their men. The only race of women. I'm right now, brothers. I'm in West Virginia. There are sorority groups of white women that are dedicated towards finding a husband. That's all they care about. That is what the entire sorority is about. Getting a man, identifying him, and saying, hey, I'm gonna be with this guy right now for the future. But our sisters, everybody's looking for instant gratification. And I've been down the road to instant gratification, brothers. And there's too many black men out there who are doing the right thing. I got one brother, y'all, who I know. He's actually a business partner of mine, SB Western Diamond. She'll love him. This brother is 47 years old. He makes 150,000 every year, and he's in IT. He loves black women, but couldn't find one. So guess what he ended up doing? Getting with a white woman. Now everybody can't stand. You see what I'm saying? And these are the things that we have to work on. Our sisters have to recognize that. Stop looking to love and hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And thinking that that's a reality. We have to start getting real. We have to start paying attention, or we just won't have a community. And as black men, we all know that we have the option to move on and find race and find love wherever we find it, whereas our sisters have a more difficult time. I would love to be with a black woman, but if she's not going to be feminine, if she's not going to be submissive, if she's not going to treat me like a man, and there's all this combative back and forth, brothers, I can't deal with that. I'm not going to deal with that.
I didn't see much. Yeah, no, I think. Yeah, but I'm sorry. Let me let you finish. I apologize. I getting ready to cut you off. I apologize. There is it, Dre?
No. Please go ahead. Jeez,
okay, so in looking what both of you guys were talking about, there's several things I was taking notes as you guys were talking, but it's one of those things like going back to the core of it and dealing with it, like in dealing with our sisters and wanting to have our sisters on board. How do we get? And this is what keeps coming to my head is how do we get our sisters on board as far as understanding that what you've been taught in the past or from the previous generation might not be correct. And there's a point that you just made, and I laughed when you said it, and it wasn't laughing at you. I'm laughing because of the reality behind it. My middle daughter, when she went to college and she got to college, all of her friends' moms, the white and the Asian girls that she hung out with from church or whatever, because she went to a Christian college, all of her friends' moms and all of them were telling them that you don't want to leave out of college without being an old hag, without having a husband. Like you go to college to find a husband. And leaving out of college, all of my daughter's friends were married. Some of them married. The comical part about it, none of them married their own race. So the Asian girl married a black guy. The white girl, she married a black guy. The family was fine with black. But anyway, it was just hilarious to me that all of them walked into college with, before I walk out of here, my goal is to walk out of here with a husband. That was they're going to come out with their nursing degrees because it's the 7th best nursing program in the country, or their educational degrees, or whatever the degree is that they're going to do. But their primary goal in coming out of college was to have a husband to start a family. That was the goal walking out of college. So they went to college, yes, to get a degree, but the degree was secondary to coming out with a family. And I'm saying that to say that for us in our community, we look at the family as a burden. And I want to get to the point where we don't look at our families or getting a family, having kids as a burden, because the way we do it is wrong. I hate saying like that, but we know that the best way to have a family, the best thing for our children is to come up in a loving 2-parent household. All the statistics, everything shows that is the best thing for children growing up is in a loving 2-parent household. And our children are taught, and to an extent, I even fell victim to it because it's like what I was taught. And then having to realize, okay, after a while, like, no, maybe I was wrong on that. The family is the most important thing that you can do. So how do we get our sisters to understand that? I don't know. And how do we get them to have that accountability? Because in managing their expectations, it's understanding.
That's what it is. Accountability.
So understanding that that's what it is, that you have that system, because a lot of the issues that we do have, and so there's two, I always say there's 2 parts of this equation. There's a systemic part, there's a part that you don't control, right? The opportunities, the systemic aspect of it, and then there's the part you can control, which is your effort. That's the only thing that you control. You don't even control how you feel. Somebody does something, you're gonna feel some type of way, you're gonna feel some type of way. The actions that you do behind feeling some type of way, like with the Will Smith thing, whether or not I jump up on stage and go take it out and do it that way, which is going to cost me and my family money, which is going to take the bag away from my family. And as an elder, I put out a video here the other day, taken away from the kingdom. That's an issue, right? And having that mentality where it's like, yeah, but it's protect all Black women. You realize that you're also destroying your family, right? By having that. Did you see, you let, as a, who is it? There was another sister she mentioned, who was that? Lunel. She talked about there's many a Black man laying up in the cemetery right now because some woman said, as his woman told him, you gonna let him talk to me that way? What kind of man are you, right? And and now you are diminishing your family. And so understanding that there's certain, the same way that a sister can do that, she can be like, oh no, baby, don't do that. That's going to cost us. Don't do that. I know where your heart's at. I know what you're trying to do. And that'll calm a man down. When the power that our sisters have over us, I know they say they don't have any power, but that ability to sit there and calm a man down, especially a man who cares about him. A lot of times I think having our sisters and understanding, what type of man are you looking for? It's like I always tell young men, especially when they go like, oh, but she bad though, bro. She bad. I'm like, what else is there to her? Right? Is that all she has? Because if that's all she has, you might want to keep it moving. I'm not gonna say might, brother, keep it moving. Save yourself a headache. Who you have kids with is huge, right? And so in looking at all of these things, helping the young brothers, like I said, one of the things I am doing, kind of like what you're talking about, Dre, I'm in the street law program now, trying to sit there and make sure that I keep on participating. So I'm putting my efforts and my actions where my words are at. I don't want to just sit there and talk about doing these type of things and not do anything. And then there was one more thing that I wanted to Oh yeah, I was gonna say, you talking about getting a job of official. I don't want that job. I'm not somebody who likes telling everybody else what they need to do. What I would like to do is see what it is that we can do in order to come together as a community. So I would like to do some teaching, like with the street law program, or do some teaching and figuring out how it is that we can educate this generation coming up. Because one of the things that they did systemically to our community is they took us Black men out of the family. You named some of the ways on how they did it earlier there, Westradamus, by giving our women the option or saying, hey, you can have some kind of aid, but you can't have a man in the house. So we've imprisoned him. You need some help. We'll give you the help, but you can't have a man in the house, which means that once he gets out, you can't welcome him back, right? That was one thing. Then there's other aspects that now that you have an F, you got a big F, a felony or whatever, you coming out, you can't get a job, right? That's an issue, right? So and then we say, hey, you're not a man if you can't provide for your family. So now our sisters are looking at us as if you're not a man.
Crime rate jumps up. Yeah, you start selling, start stealing.
Well, and that's the thing. So, and a lot of our brothers, I can't tell you how many of our brothers, and when I talk to them, who are dealing with these type of, who've been to prison, who's been incarcerated, and you talk to them and you realize just how bright they are, right? And you realize that they have all the traits and the characteristics necessary to be an entrepreneur. As a matter of fact, getting out there and hustling, going, whether they're a D-boy, they slang, whatever it is they're doing, they did that with the idea of, a lot of them did it, and I can say from even within my family, a lot of them did it because they needed to provide for their family. And they're looking at what's the best way to go about doing it. Now they don't have another mentor telling them, nah, brother, that's not the best way to do it. Here, come on over here. Let me show you how you get your credit up, or let me show you how you do this so you can get this done. And let me show you that you want to hustle. Here's some things you can do that you can hustle. You can make some money and then it's gonna be it's not gonna be a microwave. It's gonna be more crock pot. But I guarantee you, brother, by the time you get on the back end of this, you're gonna be sitting pretty. You're gonna have a few million in the bank. But they didn't have that guidance because we took, or I shouldn't say we took, but the government and they took Black men out the household, and we now relegated. So, and part of the issue, as when talking with my sisters, is like part of the issue that you're complaining about the type of men that are coming up is you guys raised them, right? The men that you're complaining about, and the next generation that's getting ready to come up, that's also going to be a bunch of what they call fuck boys or whatever. Yes. You guys raised them, right? Yes. The man's not in the household. You raised what you're angry about, what you're mad at that you had. You're doing the exact same thing, and you're raising that. So we need our sisters. And it's like I need our sisters to sit there and look at that and say, okay, here's my part in it. I can see that here's where we need our brothers to do this, and this. But I have a part in this that actually contributed to where we're at right now, and here's what I can do in order to turn that around. And I'm trying to think it like right now I'm doing the street law program with them. I want to sit there and see if we can get a program together where we can probably try and do some like Saturday schools or something like this where we can talk to the next generation, because the generation that's there right now is still giving out bad information. I don't want to say it's just they can't
outdated information. Just outdated. It's not bad, just outdated.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. Outdated information. I'll try and use that phraseology. I say because as I'm looking at it, I'm just trying to figure out how do we the solution on how it is that we get to that point where we can do that. Go ahead, Dre. I apologize.
No. I because SB, I just want to add this briefly to the back end of what you said. So what's the one thing that I was doing a few years ago before I got locked up again? I would actually give up my Saturdays in order to go teach Black and poor children chess. And so that was really important to me. Me and my buddy, Dr. Cousins, he's one of the best heart surgeons in the country. And he's a terrible chess player. I'm up on him. So Doc, if you're watching this, you know. But Dr. Cousins, he's really a good Black man, married to a Black woman, 2 Black kids. I mean, just a great guy. I met him through the chess program, and so I would buy lunch, and then we would get a bunch of children from the community, and that was the goal in order to get these young Black boys how to think, how to be cognitive problem solvers, and how to be able to see a thing through and pick out the mistakes, try to see it before it comes. And so that was extremely successful for us. That we weren't able to keep it together. I ended up getting locked up, and Doc ended up moving because they wasn't treating him right at this hospital here. So he went to Parkersburg in West Virginia. Had his own practice now. He's really flourishing. Shout out to Dr. Jeffrey Cousins, heart surgeon. He's a really good man. That to me.
One time for the doc.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to Doc. And one of the things, Black men, that as I see it is, you see, SB, I be trying to be, but see, we glorify dumb shit in our community.
This is true.
Really glorify a lot of stupid shit. We glorify motherfuckers who can run, jump, and catch. But we don't lift up academia as we should. And that bothers me. That really bothers me. And until we start to call these things out and start to push our children to understand how important academia is and how important it is to recognize how you can, if you can catch them at a younger age and to say, hey, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Here, do this, and give them different tools instead of balls. Our community will be better off.
And I'm trying to figure out, I apologize, I didn't mean to step on you here, West Ramos, but how do we do that so we make it cool? And the reason why I said that, because my son, when my son was growing up, one of the things, I'll be honest with you, and I think I went overboard. So I say this is not, I'm not recommending this because this is something I did, and he and we talked today, and every time we talk about this, I was laugh. I said, well, I went overboard. I screwed up on that one. But when he was growing up in school, if he wanted to do something that was academic wise, like he was a part of the debate team, that was cool. Getting on the football team, the basketball team, and all that stuff, I didn't want him doing that. You can go play basketball and football at PE. That I don't care. But I don't want you like the organized sports where that's the direction a Black man has to go in order to be successful. That's not for me. I'm like, that's not for you as my son. The problem I had is that while I might have been encouraging it, his mother was not, and society as a whole was not either. And most of the people that he was around was not telling him that that's the cool thing to do, right? Yes. And how do you get it so that our young men, when they look at it, they go, okay, I understand that that's what put out there. That's the agenda. That's the trajectory. That's the track that they want me on, is to be on sports, to go out there and go entertain, whether it's with a ball in my hand or stick in my hand or sit there with a mic in my hand, whatever it is, to go entertain them, as opposed to using my brain in order to help uplift and upbuild our community. And and this going back to our sisters, since we're focusing on them, as like, they are the first teachers. They're the ones that are there with our children, with our sons, to say the first ones that are there as fathers. Yes, we can have that impact. But our sisters also, that if the father isn't there, don't just sit there and say, you know what, I want to make a bunch of money. You can be millions if you're the next LeBron James, or you're the next Shannon Sharpe, or you're the next whoever. You can be worth millions that way, as opposed to you can sit there and come up with the next open heart surgery, or the next this, or the next brain surgery, or whatever it is that could be engineering or something along those lines. There's something that you can build and help the community, or even a teacher that can help uplift the next generation. That's not what's getting pushed. Just make the money and the money becomes the most important thing, and it's so materialistic. So it's, again, I'm trying to, I keep on coming back to it. I want to figure out how to, as we're talking, I'm hoping that it jogged me on something else I can do besides street law, something else I can do besides, or maybe even, like I said, it might just be the Saturday school, and how do I get together where we can sit there and get that in our communities and have it so that the kids come out, like I said, whether it's for chess on one point and other things that they can learn as well, to be able to be taught that these are the cool things to do, as opposed to just entertain, like dance boy, entertain me, as opposed to something along those lines.
Very. Go ahead, Western Dramas. Excuse me.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead, sir.
You sure? Okay, because I
Always.
apologize. You had chimed in, and I wanted you. I don't want you to forget your thought.
Oh no, no. Go ahead.
Thank you. These, as you said, SB Western Diamonds, these issues are extremely difficult, and especially when you're dealing with, a lot of times you're dealing with a lot of stupid parents. Parents are very, very stupid, and so they will do anything in order to sabotage their children just because they can, just because they're their children. See, it's funny. You need a license to drive a car. You need to be 21 to have a baby. I mean, 21 to drink, but any fool can have a baby. You know what I'm saying? And there's no repercussions. There's no it's one of the sadder parts of this country. And in terms of when we're dealing with these children, I had a buddy of mine. I still do. He's a drunk and an alcoholic, you know what I mean? But he's a good friend of mine. He had a son when he was at an advanced. He had his son about 45, but he drinks a lot, you know what I mean, badly. So I used to always take his son. He got locked up. So I kept his son. His mother didn't want him in Detroit, so she sent him down here. So I was doing, because I just keep with me. I had him in boxing. He wasn't even in school till he was 6 because of me. I put him in school. He was doing really, really well. And then what did his daddy do? His daddy wants him back. His daddy got him back. Now he's over in the projects doing absolutely nothing. He's the balloon. He's 10 years old, but he's overweight because his father gives him all type of junk because, it's what he wants. Now when he gets around me, it's, hey, Uncle Dre, how you doing? He tightens up real quick. But I'm not around to be an influence on him. And how can I? That's his father, and his father decides the way his trajectory of his life is going to go. And so a lot of times, it's the luck of the draw, fellas. You can be born into good parenting, and then some people overcome bad circumstances. As much as we might want to speak about Dr. Ben Carson's politics, he's a brilliant brain surgeon. I read a book on him. It was amazing. You know what I'm saying? And the things that he, overcame in his life in order to achieve his success. And some of you brothers who didn't come from the best of circumstances, but still managed. But that's far more of the minority than the majority. We need to make guys like you all the majority, and not just to stay out of prison, because the majority of black men don't have prison records. That's bullshit. And I hate that people continue to throw that out there. That's a goddamn lie. It's not true.
Oh, no,
I'm in the minority here.
Yeah, but that's you can even go to the BOP statistics for Bureau of Prisons, that'll show that. And I guess I want to yield over to Western Dominus. What did you have to say? I want to get your opinion on this.
Just a critique for black people or for the indigenous community. I want to get away from saying black people, because we've only been black or African American since 1988, so let's just go ahead and just call a spade a spade. So as a part of the indigenous community, this started in the minstrel shows. The only way that we've been programmed to be narrowly tailored is to be entertainers, for us to say that we made it, or we need to be on TV in order to say that, hey, we made it. And that is media. That's something that we don't control our own image. And that's very unfortunate, because that will be another funneling in of a generation, which has happened with this past generation. They're already being funneled in, saying, hey, got to be a sports star and things like that. And it's unfortunate, because of when we look at our quote unquote leading faces or leaders or people that we need to aspire to be, most of them are entertainers. And your community cannot thrive whenever you're the people who you thrive to be or strive to be, or your heroes are paid to dance, in essence, so therefore that's a very destructive trait of our community. And if you look at any other heroes in people's communities, it's always the businessman,
Mm-hmm.
never the
Yes.
politician, always
Yes.
the businessman.
Yes.
And the billionaires. And what we need to do is we need to start making our businessmen be celebrities
Yes.
instead of all uh, these these entertainers, because like I lost a couple mentees to, hey, I want to pursue to be a rapper. Whenever being a rapper is one of the most dangerous, excuse me, is one of the most dangerous jobs in America, is being a rapper. Like, hey, you can look every week, you see a rapper getting patched out. So it's just a disturbing trend that we need to address. We need to address, and we're talking about solutions and things like that. Man, it's very hard to make a macro impact when there's no reinforcement.
What
And
I agree.
whenever you try to, because hey, I try to do it, and whenever you try to put ideas in, and we're talking about this segment here. Let me qualify what I'm saying. We're talking about people that grew up like me. I grew up in the hood. All right. And I grew up on housing, food stamps, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're talking about this segment of people. We're not talking about everybody. We're talking about this segment. All right. And you have to be careful with that segment, because if you're putting those different ideas in their mind, and you have to understand what kids do. They only spout out what's in their mind. So whatever you put in their mind, they're gonna start saying. And you have to understand their environment. So they're saying all these big dreams and big ideas and big goals. They're gonna get stamped out. You know, and I know it happened to me. And with your big ideas and your different thinking, you might make them a victim. It might make it worse. I don't know if y'all. I'm a big fan of The Wire. I think The Wire is the greatest TV show on the face of this planet. Shout out to David Simon.
It was
And
boy.
yeah. Like man, um, that's the TV show, and it explains a lot of that, especially in season 4 and season 5, about the cycle of it. And of course we have already have it identified and things like that. It's just it's very hard to I just find it's very hard to of course this is the problem. All right, of course it's going to take finances, right, to fix the problem. But the issue is, whenever you throw finances at the problem, you're more enabling the problem instead of fixing the problem. So there's just been a systemic issue, and a lot of things have to be on grandmothers and mothers, or it has to be some type of retraining. I remember there was like a news story, back in the war in Iraq back in '03 and things like that, where I read somewhere where the government was talking about, hey, we have to re-educate the women because the women actually teach everybody, and maybe there might have to be like a different school, different schooling just for women. I remember whenever when I was going through middle school and high school, there was actually home economics classes and things like that. But hey, that's where I learned how to cook today. Do the home economic classes. So matter of fact, a lot of the programs that we used to have from yesteryear don't even exist. I remember my brother, whenever he was going into high school, he could actually graduated with with a trade, a trade degree. So therefore, you can work with your hands. So now you can actually start earning money as soon as you get out of school and things like that. So now when they took out trades and things like that, so um, at the end of the day, I believe the issues are always come down to resources, and we need to attack these resources because the resources will cause with the education, and that's what Umar Johnson tried to do, but he just took the money and ran.
Yeah.
Yes.
I say so. I guess I have a question. Here's a question to everybody, and this is as I'm listening because it sounds like we've identified several of the issues, especially in regards to our sisters, right? So our sisters, we've identified because I don't know about for you guys, but women, and I love Black women. So this is going to be for me where I focus in on is my love of Black women, and I was married to a Black woman, but it's just one of these situations where how do we get them to help us in managing those expectations? So we've identified several things. I say if you're selecting men that are incarcerated to be the ones that that you're going to have kids with, that's going to be an issue. How do we resolve that issue? If the children that we are having that are being put out there, like you said, that it's not a situation where you get to determine and that's constitutional, you're not doing that anyway, but you can't tell somebody whether or not they can and cannot have kids. How do we train or how do we reach out, especially with our sisters, to be able to make that impact to say, hey, okay, the children that we do have, especially the next generation coming up, these are some values we need to put into them. Not on a macro scale, because obviously, like what you mentioned, we're not making it at a macro scale. So I'm thinking crock pot, not microwave, on a small scale, because the adversary, they have a program in place, right? So they know that you can't do anything besides, like you said, what you're going to work on, what you can work on, your effort, and the resources, the limited resources they allow you. I'm not gonna say allow, the limited resources that you can accumulate during your time frame, and then you're gonna hold on to those, and you're gonna hoard them, and you're not gonna, you're gonna put them out, like you said, for your lineage that's coming out. How do we get it so that we can start pooling our resources? Because everybody else recognizes that there's resources in the Black community, and our sisters have a lot of those resources because they spend a lot more than we as Black men. I was looking for the stat I had here a minute ago, and I can't find it. But but they spend about $1 more than we do on average. So and everybody knows that if you're going to sit there, you're pushing a campaign, you're pushing it towards our sisters, and it's best to keep the Black men out the house. How do we affect those changes? We've identified a lot of the issues. What are we going to do about it part kicks in my brain. How do we affect that change? What do we do about those things?
I'll take this one. Awesome, Dre. All right. Well, number one, I always have to say is, what are we giving? Because you have to understand that relationships, right? Men, we control relationships. All right. Of course, if you hit a certain level, you can pick whatever you want, right? So let's say we're up under like that 10% or that top 20%, because top 20% of men, you can pretty much pick whatever you want because the woman will come with you.
They want
All right.
Yeah.
They want the resources. So at the end of the day, is you have to give them something to actually respect.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You have to come with them with a plan. It's like, hey, this is my plan. All right. And hey, if you're not with the plan, bye-bye. Okay. Because at the end of the day is we have to have some ownership on our kids. We just can't say, hey, we just can't I understand that. Okay. Historically speaking, all right, we only used to live to about 30, right? Now we're living to historically older levels where now we're at 67 to 72, right? So we're programmed just to spread our seed. But now it's 2022. All right. Now we understand that, hey, we're living older. Okay. So it's not just, hey, just go spread our seed, because we don't get to 7 billion people without being monogamous. Okay. Understandably. Okay. But at the end of the day, we have to bring, number one, we have to bring something to the table, as in something to respect. All right. If we don't have nothing to respect, okay, how are we supposed to have somebody respect us, even by our peers, to respect us if we have nothing? Okay. If a homeless man was to come to us today and say, hey, hey, Westradamus, hey, SB, hey, Awesome Dre, hey, hey, I need you to invest in this new cryptocurrency. This is what you need to do. All right. Are you actually going to respect what he actually has, or actually even entertain the information he just gave you? No, because he has nothing to actually respect. So the same thing like with the woman, you have to give them something to respect, because you have to understand that their love has a price. You know, and that's the reason why which is bad information about our Black women not smiling, always trying to have a harder barrier of entry, because they love so hard and they give chances and chances and chances and things like that. So in essence, that answer to your question, in my opinion, lies on us. Is hey, what are we giving? Because if you have nothing to give, then that means we're not going to receive nothing. You know, otherwise you're just going to be a tool. And then after that, then it's like, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that. Well, what plan did you come with her at? All right, and did she agree with it? Okay, did you get that on contract? Because otherwise, what you're doing, you're heading towards calamity in 2022. Because these women, I seen it with as a particular segment of women. You know, like, hey, they're selling pregnancy tests. You know, hey, these women are all out of order. Hey, I've heard it, I've seen it all. Some of the things that that you hear on the internet actually happened to me, and it actually blew my mind. So, in essence, if you don't have a plan of action, or if you find yourself as a man not having a plan, you're going to be you're leaving yourself open for somebody else to dictate who you are and your image, your name, everything. And matter of fact, you might run into something like Will Smith and Jada Smith. Jada runs that relationship, not Will. When Will's the main head winner, he pays everything. She's hypergamous. She's everything. Will Smith is everything, right? But who runs the relationship? Because Will Smith didn't have a plan. Because if you had a plan, hey, say, hey, this is how it's going to go. I was like, hey, it's either, hey, you're going to jump on board with it or not. And then, hey, if you're not on board, okay, don't procreate with that. Yeah. Because, hey, she's not trainable. And, hey, if she's not trainable, okay, she goes into the side bin, and then, hey, or hey, have her be a play toy or whatever. Take her out whenever you want to play with it, and then after that, go about your business. So it really goes down to us actually classifying the women. Say, hey, this is wife status. Okay, hey, this one's for the streets. Hey, this one, like, hey, this might be a nice little coleslaw side dish type thing. So so really the onus is on us on that particular thing. In my opinion, I yield the floor.
Okay, so let me read this quick comment. I'm going to turn it over to you here, Dre. But it says, we need to go back to the hood and turn these women into wives and give the kids the stepdaddies they always needed. And he has a I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say I appreciate the sentiment, but I disagree, and I'll come back to why I disagree here in a moment. Let me let Dre speak for a moment, and I'll tell you why I disagree with that in a minute. Unless you want to tackle that as well, I'll let you. That's how
I'll lead it.
What's that? We all agree about that one.
Yeah, I think the guy trolling you, I really don't think he really.
Yeah. That's a troll, man.
That's a terrible idea, but I'll leave that for SB. I do want to go back to something you said earlier. Yeah, Westradamus, I do want to go back to something you said earlier when you were speaking about black men and us, and you didn't. I don't like to misquote you. Did you say that a black man shouldn't look? We should look towards each other. We should look out for ourselves. I want to make sure I understand before I can. You were speaking in regards to it was in your earlier segment, and you were speaking, and I just wanted to make when you were talking about the family looking out for each other and so forth. But you said black men, you shouldn't be like if a brother was to see another brother in the street, you know what I'm saying? You can't expect his help or.
No, that's to protect black women. Like when people say protect black women, no, women expect the black man just to, hey, you see you in trouble, just jump in, or hey, you see a nice little DV situation, you're like, hey, just go ahead and jump in there. Like, no, you can't expect a black man just to jump in there just because you're a woman.
No.
That entitlement is very destructive.
100%. I definitely agree with that. We won't be throwing our lives on the chopping block around here willy nilly. Brothers, I'll be honest with y'all and tell y'all that the very vast majority of men who are in prison are in there behind a woman. That is a fact. And so we don't even have to count the graveyard. So, jumping out the gym in order to, get involved in a situation that you have nothing to do with is a recipe for a disaster. But yeah, it was yeah, but SB, I wanted you to speak to that because I really want to hear your thoughts on what this
when looking at that as well, like I said, and this is where I'm coming back to with our sisters on how we can help them manage that expectation, because a lot of things that we as men do, we do because of women. And I know a lot of people they'll disagree with that, but I remember listening to Freeway Rick Ross one time, and he was talking about why he got into cars and even get into the dope game was because he knew that cars was something that women liked, and he wanted to get more women. You ask a lot of young men on why it is they get into various sports. They got the cheerleaders and the young ladies they want to get involved with. They know that that's where you have to go in order to get involved with women. And a lot of things that young men, the impetus, like young men all of a sudden start bathing and taking care of their hygiene because they know that that's what women like or young girls like, right? And so and when I look at our sisters and telling them you guys have power, and especially in regards to the black man, right? You guys have power, and how to get them to not just understand but take accountability for the power that they do have and the influence they have. And it comes back to that. I guess we talk about like within a relationship, we as men, we have the power for the relationship. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But in that contractual, and I'm jaded and I'm damaged. I would only want to be in that relationship with a black woman, but at the same time, I'm looking at it. It's hard for me to reconcile that contract because a lot of times what we're taught, what we're want to believe in regards to relationships within the black community is that the old biblical or Muslim paradigm for that relationship. And the reality is you're getting involved in a legal marriage. And the legal marriage does not follow the same thing. It's like you said, it's a contract. It's a civil union contract. Actually, I talked to TLA about this today on his stream. It is a civil union contract. It's a contract you get into, and it's the only time that you have a contract that two parties got to get into this contract, and only one party wants to get out, and you can get out for irreconcilable differences. It's this whole deal where it's like, we're married. Well, you know what? I'm not happy anymore. Wait, did I beat you? Did I cheat on you? Did I not provide for you? What did I do in order to make it so that you don't want to? I'm just not happy. I want to try something new. I'm in a new season in my life. It's like, but we have these kids, right? And these kids are going to be I'm not having kids with anybody. I'm having kids with you because we want to have, and it's like that whole paradigm. And I would love to see no fault divorce go away. I really would. And I hear people talk about it. I would love to see no fault divorce go away. I don't see it as going away because, again, if you're able to get in and on the back end of it, you get the cash and prizes. I don't see that going away, but it's the paradigm and it's the impact that our sisters are able to have, and they've incentivized destroying the relationship, and not just the relationship with the black man, but destroying the relationship with the black child as well. And so the next generation comes up and they don't have the black man, and they have that paradigm of a broken relationship, and they think that that's okay and that's the norm and that's what you need to be into. And it's all about how you feel today. And do you have that touchy feely, warm and fuzzy feeling all over? And I don't know. And again, like I said, for me, I keep coming back to, we're talking about a case for the black woman and how much I don't know about you. I'm not gonna say I don't know. Obviously, we're sitting up, we're talking. I love our sisters, but helping them to understand that what you've been taught about the importance of that relationship, your power and authority within the relationship, your ability to impact what goes on in the community, and to do that in a positive way, as opposed to defining success of a black man only by the wallet and the resources that he's bringing. I don't know. That should not be the only qualifier of a good black man. You're a good father if you pay your child support. How about you're a good father if you spend time with your kids? Why isn't that? Yeah. Why isn't that and I understand it because the society and the court system says that's the only thing that they're going to dictate is that you just need to say you're a good father if you're current with your child support. If you're not current with your child support, we're going to deny you your passport. We're going to deny you all these other things. What about if you're current with spending time with your kids, with teaching your kids, or taking them out to go sit there and show them what a man's supposed to be? What about that aspect of it? Why is that not a part of that? I know the legal answer, because that would be akin to slavery, because you're asking for an equitable remedy and all that other legal terminology. But at the same time, it's we're defining success on a materialistic on a materialistic plane. That's the standard, and it's all about resources. And while like I said, and I agree to an extent with you, Westradamus, on classifying women. I just don't want to get into the point where, if we're saying that the family's important, or if, and I'm not gonna say this for everybody, this is for me. If I'm saying the family's important, and I think that this is a personal thing, I feel that the Black family is primary, is superlative, it's the core of the Black community. I don't want to lay down with somebody that I have the possibility of making kids with. Well, at this point, that's not even a possibility, but messing around with somebody where the possibility of a family, and then I got to worry about, in order to get back at me, or in order to secure other resources that I may or may not be able to give, or whatever, because you can't, well, knowing how the system works, how do we get away from defining that as success, and where our sisters look to that as that's the goal? That's what we need to get. That's what we need to go after. And I was going to go as let me see what I'm getting trolled on. Most women can't deal with somebody that's very successful. It's almost 4 years from owning a I need a woman.
That man troll, man. That man troll, man.
Go ahead.
Shout out to him. Real quick, let me just respond back. Respond to your comments. The thing that's not taught to us is we are in a king and queen system, and we are in a king and queen relationship system, where thus the focus is always going to be on providing or resources. Always. Okay. Hey, if you read a Bible or a Quran or Talmud or any of the religious books, apologize if I did miss your books, even Book of the Dead, anything else you do read, wealth was by resources. Hey, I have 50 head of cow here, everything. And then a king can always make a queen, but a queen cannot make a king. And thus, that's the reason why everything is always centered around resources, resources and some type of provision for you to be called, oh, you are a good, oh, you're a good man, instead of looking at his time. Because in essence, that's all what we have is time. But it's going to be very hard to reverse that trend whenever we're still in the king and queen system, and everything is based off of resources. Even this government is based off of resources.
Everything's based off of resources. I'm not. The point I was making wasn't about it's a system based off of resources. It's redefining that paradigm to understand that, okay, in our community,
only a single mother would understand that, though.
Okay, but as I say, she's the only one who can transmit. I shouldn't say she's the only one. You can, the way the system is designed right now, that transmission of information, that transmission of knowledge, the best way to get it from this generation down to the next generation is participation by the parents, but specifically by our queens, by our sisters, by the Black woman. That the value of a man, especially for a Black man at this time, we have a cycle that we're going through, and in order for us to turn that corner, right now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he had a book, not How to Eat to Live. I'm trying to remember the name of the book, but where he talked about land being the cornerstone of any nation that you're going to build, and which is true, because if you have the land, then you can allocate the resources out from the land, and that's a whole nother subject on, well, who gets to control the land, and the resources that are going to be pulled from the land, whether it's the resources on top, resources on bottom, and all that other stuff. That's a whole nother subject. But if we identify right now that resources is that part, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with that. But saying, how do we get it so that we say, okay, we understand what you need, as we want to get resources, but we know that we have a generation right now of men. Some of them are incarcerated. Some of them been taught wrong. I say, this is what, like I said, about what do you bring to the table? This is what I'm bringing to the table. This is what we want out of this relationship, this contract that we're entering into. And I understand that you're not going to be able to have what the white man has, which I'm being bombarded with all the time in media, right? The media is always telling you that whatever you have is not sufficient. And you need a new pair of red bottoms, a Birkin bag, what these are success items. What did you have? You had a video called Pyrrhic Victories, right?
Yes.
You make Pyrrhic victories, right? You get these Pyrrhic victories. That's success. How do we get to change that mindset? Specifically within our sisters, right? I think the brothers need it, but I think right now our sisters need it because we're selecting mates and looking for the people who have the Pyrrhic victories, that they're showing us the flash and everything else, but there's no substance. How do we change the paradigm to say that's not what we're looking for? We want strong Black families, and that's not going to get us strong Black families. This is what you should want, and this is what you need to look at, so that when she gets it from her mom, she gets it from her aunts, she gets it from her grandma, all of that stuff sounds down in there, and she knows what she's looking for is not just what makes her moist between the legs, but in addition, I said, because it's like, when I talk to young men, it's like, is that the only thing that she bad? Oh, she bad, bro. No, I don't want just that she a bad bitch. I want something else besides she just bad in order for you to go. And I'm trying to figure out, how do we do that with our sisters to say something else besides the money or the
amputation.
Well, we want to keep that too, because we need, because that's what bringing the next generation on. So we want the next generation coming, but at the same time, how do we get it so that that's not the paradigm?
And I'll tell you why I say that, SB, because okay, you know, SB, I try to really be nice. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my man. I'm gonna tell you, brother, something. See, this is the shit that really pisses me off with our community. See, we play games with our community. These women don't even know what a man is, SB. They don't know that money has nothing to do with being a man. You know how many rich guys I know that's cowards and rats? They ain't men. They home ain't no telling what they done to get some money. A real man take the trash out. A real man stand up for you. A real man make sure you walk to the inside of you. A real man make sure you tucked in at night and make sure the house is safe. They don't even know what a man is. They so caught up in some fictitious finite bullshit that they don't even know when they looking at a real man. They caught up in a fantasy. And so so for us Black men to be able to get this across to these sisters so when I say amputation, that's what, brothers, we gonna have to cut some ligaments off to save the body, to save a life. They ain't gonna make it, because at any time we can't tell, anytime you worried about what a man, the average Black man make 40 grand. Ain't that right, brothers? I'm sure we all know the average median income. It's
actually less than 40 grand, but yes, but the average median income that across the board in the United States is around 40 grand. It's 40 something and some 40 something now, but it's around 42. It's 42. But Black men are below that on what Black men earn on average. It's not 40 grand. It's like 30 something for what Black men earn. And that's in the funny part of, well, I'll come back to that later, but go ahead, brother. I apologize.
Thank you, SB. No, you fine. Okay, so you and Westradamus are attorneys. You brothers are on the higher end of Black men, middle to upper class. Pinpoint, the majority of Black men are above me as well. So, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I would be at the bottom of the bottom because I don't hustle no more. So, you know what I mean? You know, I don't, you know what I mean? That's
Thank you.
That's bottom only based on resources or money.
No, man. Don't you ever say that about yourself. All right.
Yeah,
don't you ever say that about yourself.
Well, let me tell you, brothers, why I say that. The only reason I say that is because I'm not involved myself, and I'm building myself up from scratch. I've totally decided that I was going to get away from a lot of different things that I was doing, and I was going to struggle. I'm eating rent, whatever it takes in order for me to stay out the streets in order for me to do this thing properly. So but this ain't about, I just want to focus on these brothers. So these brothers, you telling me don't deserve a woman that's submissive and feminine because he don't make some exuberant amount of money to provide some lifestyle that you think that you want? You don't even know what a man is. And that to me is at the heart of this, y'all. So when we looking at, so when you dealing with these people, these ignorant creatures, yeah, I'll say that part nice, who think they know what they, and then the killing part is we have all the evidence in the world, brothers. We have all of the Western Thomas. I'm going tip now.
Yeah, go in. Yeah, go in.
The problem is now, and we see how many brothers do we see that are extremely successful and still getting divorced because their women still won't submit. So what I'm saying to you brothers is, so let me slow down a little bit. To these women, this is why I just bring up this issue of amputation, brothers, because in the end, you can't. We have to take the same approach that the United States government takes with terrorists. We don't negotiate. And that to me is what will get black men. This is why I'm so focused on being with absolutely. You know what? Go ahead. You do you. We're going to build a coalition of black men, 10,000 black men, Western Dominants, SB. That's all we need. We just need a coalition of 10. We need to get 10,000 black men in an auditorium in the same place with about $10,000 they can spend, and then we can figure it out from there. You know what I'm saying? I think, brothers, we can do something collective because we need each other, because we are all we have. I'll yield after this. Black men, we are all we have. We have no other support. We have no other help. We are all we have.
You know what? That I put up that elder the other day, Rashawn Khan. One of the things that he talked about in another interview he said that one of the interesting things is, he says, why is it that even with the successful black men like Will Smith and these brothers out here who are like Denzel Washington, why couldn't they get together and say, instead of us going to Hollywood and saying, give us money so we can produce a film, why can't they all get together, pool their resources together and say, we're going to produce something. We'll take the majority of it. If Hollywood wants to kick in a little something on the back end, they're a minority owner or a minority participant in it. Great. Or I say just whatever, an executive producing credit on that, whatever. Great. But they could produce a lot of we could produce a lot of things on our own that is quality work with quality actors and quality people behind the scene. What is it like? Because all the other communities will get together and work together. And
we're afraid, SB.
I'm trying to look. I'm trying to figure this out, because you got a situation where, like, you're talking about, everybody else recognizes there's money in the black community. Everybody else comes in there. They post up their little corner stores and their liquor stores in the black community, and they go and they extract the resources outside of the black community and they take it outside. One of the things Western Dominance, which you talked about before, and that came out of I remember reading in Mahershala Ali's book, The Color of Money, where she talked about keeping that money circulating within the black community. And then Dr. Claude Anderson also came out with the same before that. Yeah, I say he was one who also talked about circulating that money within the black community. And a lot of times putting money together with our brothers in order to sit there and do something that's positive for us. It was something that was heard of beforehand. And then once they started incarcerating us, it's interesting for me. I don't know. I'm struggling right now, because it's like it's like you see the issues, you know what it is they're doing, you see what the enemy is doing to you, you see how it is they're doing it to you, and then it's like, well, how do I overcome it? But go ahead, brother.
Yeah, you niggas this money, but don't you rock this boat.
Yep.
We give you a couple dollars, Western Dominance SB. We'll give you a couple dollars and we'll give you a platform, but don't you do too much. And they know it. Don't mean to cut you off, SB, but they know it.
No. But that's the thing. They teach us how not to work together. They teach us that you don't. Oh no, he's a little too much. You don't want. And I don't want to be in that same mode. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to focus on black people and black issues on the channel, because I don't want it to be like, oh, we're going to try and say it in a nice way for the white folks. I don't care about saying.
I don't do that.
Yeah, I say, but yeah, but it's one of those things where I just don't. I say I'm struggling, and I guess I'm brainstorming with you, brother, because it's like I really want to figure out a way on how it is we can do something, and or affect change in a way that's not what they know. I say what everybody else is doing, which is okay. Well, we just we do the thing that's sensational. I don't mind doing sensational every once in a while, but I don't want to sit there and get away from the core. But anyway, that's where I'm at with it. But if you brothers have any ideas, let me know, because it's like I'm struggling.
Mr. Diamond, go ahead, brother. Get in here before I go ape shit.
Oh man, go ahead. Actually, man, I'm just enjoying it. Um, I just enjoy your takes, because they're just raw and passionate. But like we suffer from placism, and that's the reason why our entertainers can't kick in. But matter of fact, they are kicking in because they all of them are coming up like with some type of production company and things like that. So,
But production, bro.
Hey, they're doing it. So clearly, it's some type of placism. Of course, if you become an actor and get put on that level, of course you have to. Of course, there's something else going on there. Because people have to put you on, and there's agreements and things are going on there. For us, I don't know if you ever looked into the town of DeSoto, Texas. That is a town that was actually built by Black people. And actually Black men or indigenous men going back and forth, and they only do business with each other and things like that. So just to let you know, like that stuff is going on. It's not being highly publicized. And just on that level, and the only thing that's being publicized are just the degenerates that are actually in our community, and it always come from the bottom half because they never had anything, so therefore they have to wear their net worth. Say, hey, hey, I got 10 chains on when you walk in. Like, why you got to do that? Of course somebody's gonna rob you. Of course somebody's gonna do something to you. But about us getting together, man, at the end of the day, is this, we're trying to make our case for the Black woman. It's on both of us. Both of us have to do our part, and and clearly this is like our therapy session, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, hey, we need this, but at the end of the day, we're gonna need them to work and build, and in essence, we have to educate them on our position, right? It's just like in court. Okay, we're trying to educate each other on our position, and we need to have a conversation, not a rant. Because like when you rant with somebody, okay, they're not open. That's just an execution.
Correct.
They're not trying to hear anything. They're just here just to scimitar off heads and things like that. So, even though that we're having our session here, is we have to level up, and if they don't want to level up, okay, well then we'll have to take another, or whoever wants to level up with us, and that's what's been going on is, and that's fair, and it goes both ways. Like, hey, I'm leveling up this, or hey, I want this, and this particular man's not here. Okay, you go marry out. I'm not a proponent, like I'm not advocating for that, but hey, if that's what you want to do and that makes you happy, you go do it. But at the end of the day, is as men, just like what Awesome Dre says, like, hey, we have to set our terms.
Yeah,
we have to set our terms. Okay, the gender war is over. All right, they lost. All right, it's time for us to set our terms.
That's for me. I'm looking at it as to me, that's fundamentally being a man, and that's what a lot of these young men coming up under their mothers only have not learned is to be a man. Is to say, hey, even if you're gonna sit there and say I'm not gonna be monogamous, and it's gonna, I say, like, if you're a Muslim and you're not monogamous, or if that is your terms, state it. Don't be scared. Don't sit there like, oh, well, I'll get into this contract with you that says I'm going to be monogamous, knowing good and well in the back end you're going, I'll just cheat later. No, don't. State it. These are my terms. I say, this is what I'm willing. I say, this is what I'm providing. This is what I'm doing. This is what I can do. If I need you to be monogamous, can't do that. Not doing it. Don't be don't be scared. Don't not be a man. Be a man. Tell them what you're gonna do. Tell them that you're doing it. Tell them what you done did, right? Don't sit up there and be scared to say what it is you're gonna do. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. This is what I'm gonna do. I say, and if you don't like it, I get it. I say, and there's plenty of guys out there that'll sit there and lie to you. I'm not lying to you. I'm gonna tell you this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm doing it. You can either take it or leave it, but I'm gonna do my best. You're gonna get my best out of me. I'm gonna do da 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 da. But don't sit there and be like, yeah, I could do that whole monogamy thing, and you know good and goddamn well you're not doing it. Don't do that. Don't be a man. Tell them that you
don't. Yeah, about to say, don't lie. Just just set your terms, and then sooner or later, like just be like vampires. So here, go to your kind, And then some people are marriage minded, some people are not. That's what I'm saying. You have to classify it and set your terms, And I think that will rectify a lot of the stuff. But I'm really interested in seeing Awesome Dre, man. Like I just love your rants, man.
I try to hold it together, brother. I do.
Nah, brother. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let it rip. Go ahead and let it rip. I'm loving it, man.
Yeah,
because it's so serious. You know what I'm saying? These things are so serious, and I just keep wondering, brothers. Brothers, I was just watching Judas and the Messiah.
The Black Messiah.
Black Messiah.
I'm just now watching this for the first time, and I'm like halfway through it. And then, first of all, this actor, I got to know his name.
Lakeith, yes.
This brother just phenomenal. And I think about our leaders of that have been killed or have been that have been in prison, and so much that we lost, and which gave way to the 90s crime bill that came along, and you know what I'm saying, and incarcerated a whole generation of black men for petty small crimes. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, and the funny part about it is we still haven't received reparations for that yet. They give reparations out for everything else, but I digress. I won't go there.
No, but that's what they do to us, right? I mean, that fundamentally that's what they do to us.
Yes.
For a long time, like Dr. King and Malcolm and those guys, they made it cool to go to jail, but there was a reason why they were going to jail.
Yes.
And the petty crimes, even before then, there was this thing called peonage, where they were saying that they were putting us in jails for things like vagrancy and whatnot, so they could have convict labor. But there's been a history in this country of doing that to black men, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, if you guys are just going to go to jail, and we've already sat there and made that exception within the 13th Amendment that we can still treat you as a slave if you're convicted of a crime, due process and all. So I can't call you a nigga anymore, but I can treat you like a nigga and call you a criminal, right? So it's that aspect of it that there was a reason on why those brothers went to jail back then, and it wasn't to make it cool, but there was a reason on what it was they were doing. It wasn't the stuff that trying to poison the community, blah, 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 whatever. But even then, now they recognize if we just over criminalize everything, we make everything a crime, even the quote unquote victimless crimes, then we can sit there and still treat you like a slave and a nigga, even to this day. And that's but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Here, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to interject this. There's a book I would recommend both y'all to read. It's called Slavery by Another Name.
I already read it.
By Douglas A. Blackman, talking about the reason slavery in black. Yes, please read that, because it breaks down a lot of things, and really like the policies really haven't even changed. They're just changing the name of it, but really it's the same thing. What they've been doing, like with Jim Crow and go on. I'm sorry to cut you off. SP, go ahead.
No, it's exact. No, keep going, because it's the exact same thing. It's all the exact same thing. And the bad part about it, at least to me, from my perspective, is that we're not taught about it. Now they're saying that they're putting because I'm doing a quick pre-recorded one that I'm going to be putting out, dealing with all of these states and their critical race theory laws, which is basically, we're going to hide the information from you, or not even hide it. We're going to say that you can't learn about what the actual history is and what actually happened. So it makes you feel bad, the fact that your granddaddy was the one who was sitting up there throwing rocks at the kids, sitting up there going to school and learning that your granddaddy was a racist, and we don't, and it makes you feel bad. So we're not going to teach you about that. Right. And in my head, I'm going, okay, just how, not only can you not learn about it because it makes white kids feel bad. We're going to hide it from black kids, and then we're going to have a whole nother generation where we're just going to keep you ignorant, and you're going to stay stupid and ignorant as to what actually happened and what was actually done beforehand. And then by the time you learn it, and the time that you get in your head, now you're like 5 steps behind, and they're already moving past you. And that's I'm sorry.
No. Come on, talk, black man.
It bothers that bothers the hell out of me. It's something that we know that's systemic, that's there, and it's again, it comes back for me. It's like, okay, so if I know what the issue is, and I know that this is a problem, what am I gonna do about it? And as we've been talking, like I said, I know I'm doing street law, and I'm working on working on a clinic. I'm trying to do the one over here at U of H as well. Can I also do something with Saturday school? And I guess that's where I'm us talking right now. One of the things I'm thinking about is how do I get something started with the Saturday school at this point, where I can put my time into that.
See, my thing is like, hey man, we have to start hitting things politically.
I agree.
We have to hit a power base. Like, at the end of the day, it's gonna take resources. If it's Saturday school or whatever, whatever we like to implement, it's gonna have to take resources. Mine in particularly is you have to have money, donate, get a candidate that's going to do your bidding. All right. And then after that, we can start enacting change that way. So therefore, we can get money coming this way, just like former president Trump, how he was trying to write millions of dollars to HBCUs. But you see that this president slashed that 95 million all the way down to I think like 2 million to HBCUs or something like that, some ridiculous number, so you have to get a candidate that's going to start doing your bidding, or only donate or cut the deal, make the contract, cut the deal. All right. So therefore that you can get funding for this, or just like we talked about CTR, critical race theory. All right. Yeah. CRT, how that got pretty much just got killed in every state. It's like, who are we electing? Because we actually have the power, So get our people in there, and then after that, we can enact it. That's how the LBGTQ, I think IA, the whole alphabet. That's how.
NLP got you.
Yes. I apologize to y'all if I missed
we can't
any.
even say it on here. That's
yeah.
They got so much power, you may not even say what they are.
Yeah. That alphabet gang, they some fierce dog.
Yeah. The whole alphabet, whatever. I apologize. I please believe I do apologize. But you see how. Yeah. You see how effective they were. They were very effective. So. So we need to take notes from there, because you have to understand that the civil rights era is dead now, and it actually morphed into the LGBTQIA alphabet people and their movement. So we need to start really taking notes from them and other successful movements.
Excuse me, SB. I just want to tell Westradamus, I actually did a video on that. I said, what can black men learn from the alphabet community?
Yeah.
Did you see that, SB?
I seen it. That one I haven't seen yet.
Hey man, drop your channel down, man.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Okay.
Yeah, I dropped it down.
I actually did a video on that because I said I basically was just to let you know, Westradamus, we actually aligned in that. I said it is amazing to me how this community has basically been in existence, I don't know, maybe 20 to 30 years, but yet they figured out how to make it a federal hate crime if you even put your hands on them. And black men can't even figure out how not to, unarmed black men can't even figure out how not to get killed. So, you know what I'm saying? They've done a wonderful job in leveraging their power and their dollar in order to affect the change that they want to see in this country. I definitely have to applaud the job that they've done, you know what I'm saying, pushing their agenda. You
Asian community as well. Yeah, the Asian community as well. The anti,
yes. Everybody can get to, but we the truth of it, and I've always told black men this, y'all, and I'm gonna say this here. I've told black men that they know how special you are. You just don't know it. Exactly. And the proof is, if they didn't think that you were so special, they wouldn't do everything that they could in order to keep you in a subservient role. They would just leave it to your own devices. But see, they know how special you are. They know how intelligent and how strong black men are. They know what this melon is. They know it. They know it. That we just don't know it.
Yeah, and I just put your that's going to be 7 Mile Awesome Dre. That's his channel there.
Thank you, Savior Black. Thank you.
As in the comments down there below. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know that everybody I know we had some hard stops on it, but I want to get back together again. I say hopefully either later this week or next week. I'll reach out to everybody again. But in going through and looking at this on, like I said, we know what it is that they're doing. How do we get out of say, like you say, we know we're special, we know that what they're doing to us. How do we sit there and combat it? That's in my mind. I'm always going back to what else can I do on a micro level? Because I know the macro, I'm not there yet. The macro is something, like you said, who are the politicians, but that requires us working together as a group cohesively to say we're going to take the deal. We're not just going to go by and they'll cut the deal. They'll cut the damn deal. If you ever want to know whether or not they'll cut a deal on how to sit there and screw somebody else out of it, go back and look at the compromise of 1877. There was an election.
On it.
Go back and look at the compromise of 1877. And the compromise of 1877, Republicans at the time, the party of Lincoln, right? That was who was there for us. That was who started that whole Reconstruction thing, who fought the Civil War on behalf. When it came down to it, and you had Reconstruction actually working, what they did at that point, they came back and they looked at it. They said, okay, we won this election, or the election was in controversy, kind of like what they just had this last time when they went back and they looked at that. That was in the playbook, but that's a different subject. They said, okay, if you will pull the troops out of the town, give us a Southern Railroad, and let somebody from our party into the Dixiecrats party into the Republican cabinet, we'll take our claim off. We'll let this go if you'll do that. And they sat there, they said, okay. And they did too. They let somebody in the cabinet, and they sat there, they allowed them to pull the troops out. They didn't do the Southern Intercontinental Railroad, but they sure as hell sold out black people. And that was them to cut their deal in order to get to maintain their power. And I'm going to let you guys end it for me, and we'll cut out after that. But let me turn the floor over to you guys, and I'm gonna let everybody get out of here.
Hey, I'll go first. Hey, I just want to say, I appreciate the invite as always. Awesome Dre, MVP. To everybody listening, peace, blessings to your family. Man, we just need to heal. I love every last one of you. And hey, if y'all don't have any legal issues, hit me up. I got you. All right, I'm on out of here. I'm gonna
need to put your contact down there for us, Westradamus.
Okay, yeah, most definitely. Yeah. All right, man. Y'all be blessed. Okay. I gotta get home.
As you want to end us with something, and I'm gonna send us on out.
Yes. First of all, shout out to Savior Black for having me on. Shout out to Westradamus for being a part of this panel. You know, anytime I get an opportunity to build with black men, it's always important to me. These issues are extremely important to me. I see black men as a brothers, you know what I'm saying? Well, I think we're dying. I think we're becoming extinct. Masculinity for sure. And I just any opportunity I get to be with brothers, it's always an opportunity to bring it back. And as I always say, you know, it's hard, SB. It's hard because I want so much for our community, and I know that somehow I have to temper this fire with direction, and so that's why I push this. That's why I push these lawsuits like I do. I'm trying to turn over and use the same systems that have been the doors that have been kept closed to us in order to open up doors for myself and show my people that we can do it, in order to take this money, then leverage it, and open up doors for our people, because something needs to be done. And I just want to be a part of the solution, because I would no longer wish to be a part of the problem. And thank you for having me again.
Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank everybody for listening.
And if Awesome said it,
so be it.
I'll talk to you later. And with that, I'm gonna let everybody go. And I'm gonna end this with this. I'm gonna say to our black sisters out there, I love you guys. And hopefully some of the things that we talked about, if you guys are listening, and maybe you might have something that you can tell us on how we can sit there and do a better job on facilitating this with our sisters. That being said, I know I didn't tell you guys before, I love you. Hoping that you guys having a great day. that is done now. And may you always, always, always have peace in your life. And with that, and to Brother King Kunta and to Brother Awesome 7 Mile Awesome Dre, we out.
I was